just some thoughts on this YouTube thing. I've been on YouTube for years just watching, consuming content. And I made a few videos, just random things here and there over the past maybe 10 years or so. But I've never considered myself a YouTuber or a content creator. Only until recently. And it really started with the Kendrick and Drake beef. Something about that just was captivating. It was like a dumpster fire. I couldn't look away, and I had things to say about it. But the fact is, I've always had things to say about a lot of things. And usually I was content just being in the comments sections of YouTube, just discussing things with people, because the YouTube community is different than Facebook. Like, you could really have a conversation, even if you're going to come against a lot of different personalities and different opinions and perspectives and some trolls. But in general, I just have found the comment section of YouTube to be way more interesting than like Facebook and things like that. So I've been a YouTube person for a while. Now, the thing is, like I said, I've always had a lot of things to say. I've always been very opinionated, and I love explaining things to people. I love teaching people. That's why I was a teacher for 3 years. And even especially when it comes to faith, I've always loved to talk about faith, even with people who don't believe. And to be honest, I spent the majority of my faith walk having conversations with people who don't even believe the same things that I believe, like atheists, different faith walks, agnostics, people who walked away from Christianity. So I'm been very comfortable in my faith. But right now it's so unique because I just didn't foresee me being a content maker whose primary topic was faith, but that's the season I'm in. That's the season I'm in because, oh, baby. First of all, because God is good and He deserves it, and people need to know about it. But YouTube, really what it is that this past year, even as I've been enjoying a lot of content on YouTube, I was dealing with an episode of depression that had me hooked. It had me, I don't even know which metaphor or figure of speech to use. It had me. And it was to the point where I was having suicidal thoughts. I was not considering, but in the summer, just July and August, due to several factors, life circumstances, medication changes, all sorts of things, my brain was trying to convince me those thoughts. They weren't my thoughts because I don't claim those thoughts. They were trying to convince me to end it all once and for all. And it was getting harder and harder by the day to fight those thoughts, despite being on medication, despite having a consistent therapy routine, having a good family, having support. So I did get help. I ended up, for the first time ever in my life, being hospitalized. And I was hospitalized twice this summer. And as challenging as it was, and as much as I would never, ever, ever, ever want to do that again, I understand why I made the decision to do it. And I don't take back my decision to do it because it was a part of my healing process and moving forward and getting help. But something about my second hospital stay this summer, that really, if I'm not careful, it'll be easy to say it did more harm than good. And some of you have been in that position where you could possibly relate to what I'm saying, but it was hard. It was rough. The nurses were not kind. Well, the behavioral support staff were amazing, but the doctors, the whole program felt like it was designed to traumatize you, not help you. And they put me on so many medications that it felt like it wasn't up to me. And if people disagreed, it was almost like they were being punished or told they would have to stay longer or they weren't allowed to go home. It was scary. And like I said, I would almost say it felt more harmful than helpful. But the main reason I still choose to see it as a triumphant experience is because I made up in my mind that I was going to fight for my well-being and my life. And one thing my father would tell me is to pack my patience as I went through this mental health system, because it wouldn't always be easy, and it wouldn't definitely be pleasant, but it was a part of the decision I made to fight for my life. So I don't totally throw away that last hospital stay as being all negative or more negative than positive. But that was in August. That was just a couple of months ago. And the to be honest, like, to be even more transparent, one of the biggest blessings that came from the hospital stay is they over medicated me so much that I essentially, by recommendation of my actual psychiatrist, just went off of all the meds they gave me, and he suggested that we just monitor my symptoms to see how I would do off the medication. So for the first time in some years, I'm not on anything, and I feel so much better. Like, the thoughts stopped, the major depressive symptoms have stopped. But I know that that is nothing but the Lord, because one of the primary things that got me through that last hospital stay was reading the Word. Even though I felt like I was gonna jump out of my skin, I don't know what they were giving me, but I felt like an alien in my own body. I couldn't sit still. I could hardly sleep without having the strangest, most vivid dreams. Not just, they felt like hallucinations, and I've never experienced anything like that before. So to be experiencing that while in the hospital for mental health was confusing. But reading the Word, singing songs of faith, I was singing "Great Is Thy Faithfulness" and the song "Carry Us Through," the Miranda Curtis and All Nations version, and I was singing "Commissioned." Oh man, "More Than a Conqueror," and I was reading Joshua. And I would do the group therapy and all of that, and do all the activities and try to stay active. And I would spend time in prayer. And sometimes I would just cry. But when I got out, I had to stick with that. I had to stick to praying. I had to stick to singing. I had to sing, and I had to jump in the Word even more. I had to fast. I had to learn to meditate on a whole other level. So really, that last week of August, first week of September, I spent a lot of time just scrapping in the spiritual warfare, to really beat down the residue of whatever that episode was that I had just went through. And so my mood improved, my outlook improved, the symptoms were improving, even the side effects of the medication were starting to wear off gradually. And they gave me a shot that I didn't need. And so even that took about some weeks to wear off too. So I was experiencing just that weird feeling of like medications leaving my body, and that sort of unsteady withdrawal stage of when you go off of like psychotropics and things like that. Even though I didn't need psychotropics, I was going in there for depression, not for any type of psychotic episode, but that's what they were giving me. So in that season in September, just last month, after the hospitalization, I had to cling to my faith like never before. And I've learned the value of really just going harder after God in prayer, like harder than ever before, because some of the stuff that would be trying to sit on me, like fear and anxiety and pressure, not really the symptoms of depression because those had eased up, but like a pressing feeling would try to just sit on me. And so I've immersed myself in biblical things. I've immersed myself in teachings. I've been fasting off and on. I've done several fasts since I got out of the hospital. And as each week has gone by, these past, it's only been like 7-8 weeks, I've seen greater and greater progress and breakthroughs. So like, I had a therapy session today, and my therapist was saying, to celebrate all the progress I've made, and don't let any anxiety try to get me caught up on what I think is left that still needs to be done. And don't let that hypervigilance of trying to make sure I don't go back, don't let that overtake me and become its own form of obsession and anxiety, right? Because I have been sort of hypervigilant. But I won't take back the energy that I've thrown into my faith. And so the videos, the prayers, the way that God has been speaking to me and through me, that's where I am. And so I figure, why not just be myself and show others who I am, where I am, and hopefully encourage somebody. Hopefully help somebody else figure out how to make progress in their mental health walk. So YouTube right now is is something that I've always been grateful for, because it's just such an amazing dynamic tool for information, education, all that connection, and reaching out to different communities, learning. I love it, entertainment. But for me, I'm trying to make sure I don't become this YouTuber who is always claiming to have a prophetic word, or claiming, just trying to do spiritual clickbait, using the Bible to get views, right? I just don't want to be that. I don't want to be that. And I'm not going to be that. So I'm just sharing my thoughts, because I've seen some videos that, are clearly that. There are some sincere, spiritually motivated, genuine content creators encouraging people with the word of the Lord on here. But then there's some people just using people's desire to grow in the spirit, manipulating it so they can get clicks and views and make money. But I just thank God for all the sincere people like Dodash. I've been watching her, Sharika Skates, Reva Reveals, Treese Young. Just so many women, it seems like mostly too, that I've seen lately that have been encouraging people to get out there and be themselves and share their thoughts and insights on YouTube. So that's what I'm doing. So it's been interesting to get to this point with how I engage YouTube. But my hope is that, anybody who finds this, anybody who takes the time to watch my videos, that you're encouraged, that you're inspired, and that you leave a comment, ask a question. Maybe you have helpful information to share with me. Maybe you have a question that you could ask you think I may have an answer to. A little on me. But it's got me really curious as to where this thing is going to go. So I'm going to hang in there. I'm going to keep posting as the Lord gives me things to share and say. I'm going to probably post a little bit more about dream. Ooh, I got some updates about dreams specifically. It's something that even I didn't really realize about my own dream patterns through the years, and how God has delivered me. Like even just this past week, in the past 5 days, I've experienced a breakthrough in my dreams. So more to come with dreams. I want to share more about just encouraging people to get help, even though help can be complicated to get if you're struggling with your mental health. Tips and tricks, not tricks necessarily, but things to consider if you're facing a depressive episode that you may need to be hospitalized for, especially if you've never been hospitalized before, what that may look like, complications that could come from that. I want to share more about my experience with that, and just talk more about overcoming these things, because that's the main thing, overcoming these challenges and struggles and building the life we really want and we're meant to live day by day. So I'm excited to see where this YouTube thing goes. And last but definitely not least, I will be doing more Raquel Vision posts. Probably going live with that. The Raquel Vision, I already did R for Remembrance, and I'm still in A for Aesthetics, and it's been challenging. It's a tricky one, and I want to discuss that in some future lives. But if you watch this, thank you. If you're following, if you subbed, I appreciate your presence here. Leave a comment. If you have a channel you think I would be interested in, definitely leave a comment. I'll go ahead and check your stuff out as well. Be absolutely blessed.